like to call the October 21st Pawtucket Fire District Board meeting to order. Would you call the order? Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Aldrich. Here. Beckman.
Here.
Platt. Here. Gerflink.
Here.
Phelps.
Here.
Meridian.
Here.
And Miller will be a couple minutes late.
Okay, would you all silence your cell phones? And please try to refrain from texting during the meeting. Could we have approval of the agenda, please? Is there any additions or deletions?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Okay.
I just have my correspondence too that came in, if you don't mind me adding those quickly on number 12. There's two additional, so there would be a D and an E.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it with the additions of D and E under number 12.
All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
We have an agenda. Moving on, do we have approval of the minutes of the September 16th meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 16 meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Request for payment. Should I have a request for payment, please?
Make a motion to pay the bills, $136,327.14.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Phelps and support by Beckman to approve the bills in the amount of $136,327.14. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Don't we discuss them first?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trying to run through it here.
I'm trying to get meeting done for you. Is there any discussion?
I had a couple. Okay. Okay. I still get a little bit, I know we talked about last time, this bank card. It's $9,000, and I get the reason we have to use the bank card. But in the final accounting, like a lot of stuff on the bank card is training or repairs. How do you know at the end of the day, at the end of the year, that repair was for this part of the budget, that repair was for this part? It's so grouped in, and the numbers are pretty big.
That's a very fair question, and we came prepared this time because we got
Okay.
You know, I think I've kind of alluded to so much of the purchasing is done on Amazon now, which obviously with the credit card, it makes it difficult. The thing of it is, anytime there's a purchase done online with involving a credit card or anything, there's a purchase order on anything over $50, number one. Number two, a copy of that gets printed and put either in the credit card file or in the invoicing file, which is a 30-day payment typically. So we use the chart of accounts to assign, is that live fire training center? Is that a 760, which is building? Is it a 761, which is trucks? In other words, we have a chart of accounts, and we look at that chart of account and assign a line item expense number to that. The bills don't get paid, like say I'm gone or something like that. Peter knows typically what it is. Peter, if I'm...
Well, and there's only so much room, only so many things you can put on there, so like Greg's and Chris's card, you know, I have all the receipts, and I have it all, every general ledger line
it's
item.
not any distrust here, it's just so at the end of a year, we know for budgeting next year that we actually did.
Yeah, there's more to
for
that, yeah, so
that's all right.
everything is done in red.
It's allocated to the correct
Okay.
appropriate expense, and it's a fair question.
I won't bring it up again.
No.
It's just 9,000, okay.
I think what you saw this year heavily on that was We had to add a computer, replace screens, so
Okay.
that was a lot.
Then a couple more,
Do you want those included in the packet?
No, now that I
Yes.
know that later it's deciphered out and
And I always have, if I'm
740
here, I'll-
or
I'll-
whatever, you know, I just,
Anybody ever wants to look at them, they're all right here with.
We should be able to track it
Okay.
if there's a question.
Right.
We better be able to.
and then I didn't know what the 9/11 signs were for
The
Rathco.
green blank, the
Green.
911 green signs.
Address
Address
signs,
signs.
Right.
Oh, that we were giving. to-
that's part of our community risk reduction plan, so we had to do more because we give them free. We ran out.
Okay. And then, back building security, I thought we always secured our buildings, so did something break or? is
No.
it something new?
On the back building, there's a mezzanine, and that building was accessible. The door was accessible. We locked it, it would be open.
Oh.
And each one of those turnout gears, there's $1,800 to $2,300. And that doesn't include boots and helmets, so to keep control of it, the only people, and we don't have a theft problem here,
Right.
but sometimes that door is left open in the summer. People walk in from the neighboring boat storage buildings. What we did is we wanted that secured, so only an officer can get in that back room, and we know which officer used it, because they use a key fob system.
Oh, okay.
So it's coded. Also, included in that digital door opener device are 2 cameras, so we can record the activity that goes on in there.
So if there were a break-in or...
Correct.
That the room was in the back, used to be the compressor room and stuff.
Yeah, it used to be where we had the bar back there.
The
We don't have to edit that out.
The old meeting room.
This is the old meeting room, where the poker was.
Okay, couple more. Finance services to the city of Saugatuck.
So we pay a quarterly fee to the city of Saugatuck for use of their finance director. That's a payment.
Oh, I thought it might have been your salary or something.
Mhm,
Okay.
Yep.
It's really overpaid.
Underworked.
Okay.
Only
Why
on
can't you
Mondays.
just be contracted in as payroll? Why is it?
It's a long story.
Oh, that's confusing to me, okay. And then the last one was the 211 pressure governor repair. I know there's tons of repairs. Was that expected or a surprise breakdown of some sort? Was that another?
What
was that
happened,
in the capital
that's a
plan?
governor control for the pump system. And what happened is, the nozzle, the master stream was being lifted off, and you're like this with it, and it's a bulky, heavy nozzle, and it slipped out of our hands, and it dropped on top of that governor control and cracked it. It damaged it. We didn't know how long it would last, and water could get into it, so I ordered it replaced. It was original from 2008, doesn't really owe us anything, and,
2111 is a truck.
yeah,
Yeah, I knew
2111,
that. I knew that,
yeah.
but-
So I
But I
had,
wondered if it was in the capital plan, or it does.
it wasn't, it was a
surprise
repair because it
cost
wasn't
then.
planned.
Okay.
It was damaged while we were pulling this off, and I think it was during training. It wasn't during a fire, just something that happened.
Okay.
So now we require a piece of plywood or aluminum that goes over that. So if we lose it again, we don't ruin the $3,000 governor.
Okay. I'm done.
Any other questions?
The compound door, isn't that the one that the door didn't stay up and it came back down?
That is correct. We didn't
Any
file an
insurance? No?
I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel it was ethical because we upgraded. Number one, we put lights on it at $350, which wasn't the insurance company's fault. Number two, we upgraded the door opener, and we didn't feel it was really the ethical thing to do because we had about almost $2,000 in upgrades on that, and the bill was $3,300. We have a $1,000 deductible. So I thought it wasn't the best time to approach the the company, the insurance
I
company.
guess my question is, if the door keeps on coming down, and we've had this problem before, are we addressing that issue?
We replaced the whole thing, the controller. What happened, the controller, one time was vibrating and the card came loose, and then they put it back in, and there was a real confidence issue with it. In this case, it went up, and 45 or 60 seconds later, it came down for an unknown reason. We attributed it to that controller. It was out of warranty.
Okay.
So you see, how do I blame the insurance company for that? It was a product failure. So I thought we would eat it. So it was strictly my call on that.
Any other questions? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Fox.
Yep.
Gerflink,
Yes.
Meridian,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, on to the financial report, please. Oh, sorry.
I was saving trees today. Okay, so we're 25% through the fiscal year or more. Really, we don't have any revenue that came in, just basically some cost recovery, some small grants and interest. And the majority of the revenue will be on your winter tax bill here in the next 2 months. Overall, everything is, some things might have some high percentages on the far percent of the budget used on the right-hand side, but a lot of these are just a one-time purchase or a couple times purchase of the year. The big one I told Greg was the one that was new this year, that's paid on call stipend. We originally budgeted $115,000, and as of through September 30th, we've only spent $17,500, which is 15%. So I think we're in good shape, because I'm assuming that we would need more personnel July, August, and September than in the coming winter months. So I think we're doing, it's only 15%, and we should be, evenly, we should be like 25%, but I would think we need more personnel during the summer months than we do in the winter months. So
Right.
we're in fairly good shape with that. That was everything that we just projected. I don't know if anybody has any particular line item questions currently, or, but I think, we're in fairly good shape. And the auditors are also here, they're at the township offices, and they're going through all the financials and all the stuff as of June 30th, so hopefully with the next November board meeting, maybe they'll be here to present the audit from last year.
Is there any way to add a column in here and look at what we spent last year to date versus this year to date?
Like percentage-wise or dollar-wise? Or
Dollar-wise? and
I can look, there might be, you can make a note.
Sometimes it's good to see in comparison to the previous year if something's out of whack.
Yeah, and payroll would be good on that. Some of the supplies is hard to do, but payroll and fire calls and that.
I agree, I did the budgets like that for the yacht club, and the thing is, if I may,
Yeah, absolutely.
I not only would suggest you include percentage of change, because a lot of times the numbers, so it says $200,000, you don't know the percentage of change, and those percentages of changes prompt questions, which I think is what should be, is real valuable.
So, I mean, the only thing is getting it all to fit, on that. Maybe it might be one of the columns, I'll have to look at it and squeeze it around.
Get bigger paper.
We can do that. Well, you guys print all this out on your own, so it could be 11 by 17.
You all have screens like Chris Mannel's, with
Yeah.
a 55-inch screen over
Yeah.
there for plan review.
So,
Get it all in there.
I would assume that's probably on an Excel spreadsheet.
yeah, there's
A
gotta be
couple
a...
columns here or there.
Yeah.
Well, it's just nice to know, are your utility bills up, are your water bills up? How do you catch that sometimes?
Right.
Peter fortunately catches
Water
up.
bills are way up, but I think...
The water bills are dreadful.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, the only way you could do it is look at one from last year, and kind of look and...
Right.
Like,
It's nice to have
should be
it
a
side by
nice easier
side.
way.
Is that it for financial report. Anybody else, any other
Questions?
questions? Okay, moving on, fire chief comments?
All right, we'll go quickly through the incident reports. September, up there, about 80 calls, so you can see we're trending up there. I think we're just about 1.7% higher than last year, so nothing earth-shattering. You can see that activity, 2019, 1.5 calls, or 1.5% up from 2018. So next week, it's okay. You can see, I'm glad we staffed during the week. Here comes our weekend guy, Kyle. Kyle is on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think that really helps out with filling in on duplicate calls or concurrent calls. Okay, time of the day, we can see it pretty much follows the matrix. It's during the day. That's when our busiest time is. Response times are real solid. They're down there. Sometimes we're amazed how they are. Emergency responses, it's just priority 1s and 2s, so 50 for September. AMR should be next. Their times, just under 12 minutes.
Yeah, we haven't received any data from AMR since June.
I'll make a note, I'll get that. Sometimes I miss the emails. I only get 2 or 3 a day.
Sore spot.
Okay, next please. Nothing different here. This is a typical NFIRS appropriation. It's an interesting one. Motor vehicle incidents. We're tied for December 31st of last year. So we have an early winter that may get spiked up there. So definitely up there on calls, more and more calls on the roadways. And that's just a bar graph. We go next. Overlapping incidents, concurrent calls is another way to define this. We're 38 in September, pretty rich on that type of calls. In October to date, 13. Special events, we're trying to, matter of fact, this weekend there were 4. We've said we can't attend all of them. We're going to attend 2 of them.
I was thinking about those.
We just can't.
You just can't do them all.
They'll schedule 3 in one day on a Saturday. We don't get out till midnight on Saturday. We can't do it.
You're stretching your guys too thin on special events. You can cut back on them.
It's completely unrealistic.
You can't do everything.
No, and we feel horrible. And
Well, we've talked about, is there a possibility of creating a schedule or whatnot where, by jurisdiction, maybe each jurisdiction has X number of special events that we agree to, and after that they start paying? Or we start, either that or we specify which ones,
Which one?
the Halloween parade or whatever,
Or the bigger ones.
as ones we, feel responsible to provide gratis. But then after that one, it's,
Your smaller ones, you have duty crews on anyway, why do you have to bring more people in for them? It doesn't take that long for somebody to get
it
down there.
depends on the event, and we try to assign duty crews to many of these events. In the case of Halloween, there's too many people. The duty crew will actually be augmenting Halloween.
Mhm.
There'll be a bunch of us positioned downtown. We cut that back from like 12 to 6. So we have restricted the count on that. And duty crews do manage some of them. It depends on the type of event. Where we run into a problem are, Douglas only has like 3 events a year. Scary Berry Halloween and the Winter Fest for the school. Scary Berry came about when we had the split of services with the police. So we felt an obligation to, because all of them were in Saugatuck City. The problem we run into is we are reluctant to bill somebody because they're nonprofit. They're very worthy charitable organizations. So when you go to the chili cook-off for Cowhill and say, hey, I want to charge you $300 for coverage, you don't get a warm reception. We tried that at Venetian. and I
Everybody
almost-
likes free stuff, I get that.
Yeah, I almost got my head taken off when I was told to charge at Venetian, and they said, well, then there's no money to give to the people who need the money. And it was pretty ugly.
I wouldn't speak for,
Yeah.
I guess I would, for the township, but why would the township be interested in underwriting $300 for the chili cook-off in Saugatuck? I mean, I think it begs to have a policy, because there's a, and I'm not arguing for one thing over another. I just think we ought to be able to agree on some number, or certain ones are ones we endorse, and beyond that, charges based on, on cost, or on portion of cost, 50% of cost, I don't care, but something. Otherwise, we're just taking taxpayer money and shoveling it to the
I'd like to say no, Greg, like,
What?
you did that anniversary thing at the church or whatever recently. And let's just say hypothetically, if you had too many and couldn't do one more, they were the ones that called you, and you had to say no. What's the repercussions? I mean, it seems to me the ones that are last minute are gonna be the ones turned down automatically, because they didn't give enough notice. Where like a Cowhill is a huge event that serves the whole area, for example, and that they give a year notice. So maybe a policy's good, but notice has a lot to do with it, for one thing.
Special event permits, there's a really great process in place in Saugus City where most of them are. And that you see as a profit or non-profit, do they even want services from the fire department? Like, for example, Cowhill didn't request anything. We were doing a training session on driving, so we had the crew go down and park a truck as part of the training session. We didn't staff that event. I donated my time to do the tent inspection on a Sunday morning. And I did, at our expense, provide emergency lighting and the extinguishers. Because Cowhill, every dollar they get in, they're an exception. So usually that's the ones I get, they're non-profit, the races and that sort of thing. We billed for one from SCA, where they had a function at Coughlin Park, and I came in on a weekend and I billed the fire department, but I got reimbursed for it from SCA. Matter of fact, fire department got a lot more than I did. So we try to balance it out. The Winterfest, nobody's going to charge for that. When there's fire EMS services provided by Fair Labor Law Act, I have to pay. That was the deficiency of this fire district for 30 years.
Football games.
Yeah, we didn't get paid, and we're lucky it wasn't his lawsuit. So I changed that when I took over. So now, if it is that type of thing. So do you need us? And some of the events didn't need us because we had to charge them. Some of the races we didn't attend. So that's why we pared back on that. Halloween, when you have 7,000 to 10,000 people, we would be remiss and negligent if we didn't provide anybody. No, we don't charge Douglas. We haven't charged any city for that. So I appreciate the point. It's an awkward position to get put in, and the way we've curbed the prices on this and the cost, we've scaled back how many people we will allow. Where we can put the duty officer crew, we have the duty officer crew there. And that's what's helped.
Well, in defense of Saugatuck and these events, the events drive tourism for the entire area, not just Saugatuck. And I think it's like 50% of the township is now seasonal rentals. Well, that helps fill those houses and boost the economy. So you can't just say you can only have so many events a year, because they need to be in Saugatuck to drive the economy. So it drives everybody's economy, not just Saugatuck. So I agree, it's really a difficult position of what events to cover and what events not to cover.
I just worry financially, it's sloppy.
It is, but it's so hard to, I mean, one of the biggest events for Douglas is not a 501c3, but it's the biggest event they have of the year, so what do you do? I mean, it's
Well, but I think, I mean, if you put them under some level of scrutiny, there were gonna be some like that, or whatever, that's like grandfather, whatever you wanna call it, that's considered but there are gonna be some, whether it's, I don't know what, church picnics or even Cow Hill. It's like, again, we're charging the taxpayers $300.
Doesn't Cow Hill make a donation to the fire department? I thought they did.
Yeah,
They do.
Yeah, they're always doing something.
So.
It's 1,000 here, yeah, they do. There's a lot of that.
I think there's, you gotta think about it, and Peter just said, the winter taxes are coming in. So people pay their taxes and they expect the fire department to provide community safety at some of these events. And I get what you're saying, if we can't bring other people in to do it, but if we're here and we can do it, and we have a duty crew, isn't that part of your taxes, we've heard that.
We try to do it when they're on duty, because they get that stipend, and, it's really kind of a presence, the presence.
I get it, I mean, I don't dispute
Yeah.
that it's a beneficial thing for whomever, the community, the organization, whatever. I just think it's sloppy to have no lane set up for how this thing works. I mean, so we take pictures of the church from the aerial platform thing. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm sure the church was happy about that, but is that worth whatever that costs
We just
to
had-
all of the jurisdictions and all the taxpayers?
We had
I don't
two
know.
people on that, and that was a mutual aid, and Hamilton, as you may recall, I reciprocated the generosity of Hamilton when they put 5 people here for 9 hours and paid for their own food when we covered Mike Betts's daughter's funeral. So this was a gesture. I had 2 people, I had one driver, Kyle, and I had the photographer. So I decided to do that, and I think it cost us like $65 to do it.
Stuff
So
like that.
that's why, and I understand you guys don't question this. I just want you to know, we try to be fiscally responsible with this. And
Well, I think the notion that it's handled by duty people, I think is perfect. That's a great answer.
Yeah, and Kyle was.
Because that's a no cost thing.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know, I think taxpayers deserve to know, how many are there that rise above that? Because on that basis, the numbers are meaningless. Because you can't gauge the cost by the numbers, because some of those numbers are, they're the 2 people or the duty crew or whatever it is, and therefore it's not really a cost.
If you look at the numbers, 5 a month, 3 a month, it doesn't seem like the cost is that high. So to me, the bigger concern would be just, do we have the manpower to manage it? And I do think there should be some clear guidelines around what we go to, what we don't. To me, whether it's the Saugatuck or Douglas, the township, if it's a big event that is for the public, that draws a crowd from the community, I feel like that's fine. I get more concerned if it's a private event. That's where I feel like,
And we talked about that too, it's a good point. If it was a nonprofit, hands down, we'd probably be there. But if it was for profit, we need to start considering charging.
It's just about all of them are, they're giving away money. The only one I had that was filled out for profit was that one through SCA, which I billed them for our services.
And they paid.
We didn't staff it.
And they were.
Well, I had
willing to pay.
210 inspections, that was.
The city of Saugatuck charges, I think, increased charges, did they not, for the administrative special events permits? Don't you have to submit? No?
No, there's
No, you don't charge.
See, we're actually down, we're at 50% of our budget for special events. Last year, I think we went up to, $16,000.
Yeah, it's come down.
So we
quite a
reduced the
bit.
budget, so, okay, that's enough, this is getting out of hand, and we became more restrictive. And, that has helped, because we're at,
Cutting the manpower down is really, and the duty crew is covering it, and the costs are going down, because really from now until we'll have
Not much.
a Halloween and maybe, you know, and then.
Winterfest and Halloween.
Yeah, and then now we'll have a few in the spring and.
There's
we don't-
3,
I
4.
was gonna say, I think that number would be more meaningful if it was a cost number going across rather than just a number of events, because some of them are very costly and some are not costly.
Right.
And you're not getting a fair picture, really. You're getting an odd picture.
We actually do track it, as you can see.
Yeah, I see the number, but I'm just saying on the, as opposed to the.
Oh, I did this one, right?
Well, you are an inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
So we do keep track of when is it the duty crew, or when do we bring people in for each single event, and we have the number of hours.
That's what I'm saying on the previous chart where it shows the number of events. The number of events is not a particularly useful number for management. Dollars
Is.
are. And apparently, based on the use of duty crews, as Peter said, that number has dropped, and should have dropped fairly dramatically. Well, it'd be nice to know.
Does the board want us to change that special event to dollars spent
I
on that?
personally am not as hung up, you have this, if we ever got out of control, you could do a pure analysis and figure it out, but it's in control right now,
I don't
it's
see
hitting the budget.
looking at meaningless numbers being particularly helpful.
So these are not meaningless numbers, they give the number of hours, and then we.
Not these,
No,
no, I'm not about these, I'm
no,
talking about just
on the
the raw
chart.
number of events.
Number of-
All right, I'll see what we can do with that.
So what the numbers do show is, are we increasing the number of things we're going to, or are we decreasing it?
Decreasing.
Staying the
Yes.
same, so that bar graph or whatever he puts up there does make a little sense. Just a comparison to previous years.
Meaningless movements, laid over.
And then if costs got out of control, it's like, well, look, we're way up,
Yeah.
we're way,
It's down. so it's
control
good.
it then,
Well,
seems in control.
you know, they have three parades on Saturday, or 2 parades, 1 event, and then one on Friday night. We don't have any lives. It's just Halloween. So we said, we're not doing Scary Bear.
Yeah.
We have to inspect the tent, you know, and then the other 2 parades, we're not. We can't block off all those intersections downtown Sagatuck City. It's gonna be up to the police.
They get barriers, so put them up.
Okay.
See what we can do with that.
Or, I guess, typical, nothing that's really stands out on that. Anything else? Is that the last one, Eric? Okay, so Douglas, really creeped up.
Yeah, that's calls are this.
And as you know, that's only priority 1s and 2s. We had a fire call there too. I thought the building was on fire, and it turned out to be, thank God, it was just a bad motor on the roof.
I thought I saw,
But those are medicals there.
I thought I saw 3 come in, a priority 3 come in.
There was a 3 came in not too long ago.
From
Yeah.
Grace of Douglas, yeah. Was that
It's
just
kind
an
of
error,
questionable whether
or?
somebody
When
did their
those
head or
happen,
something.
we disregard, we have to remind, we're mindset so that we don't go to those. Sometimes they forget.
Yep. What else we have, Eric? Okay, number is self-explanatory on that. Mutual aid. Okay. Next, please. Nothing stand out there. Total property value protected. Okay. Personnel response. Shot out at the forefront there.
I need to change the chart again, 279, and max is 280.
Oh, we just
Stop.
Just get rid of John.
Get
you
rid
know?
of him.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the last one.
All right, thank you. Okay, those are done. Next on the agenda, community risk reduction. State of Michigan has got 68 fatal fires for the year, 6 since the last meeting, which is pretty dramatic. Grant updates, we're working through the new RFP process, which has become very strict with FEMA grants. They're requiring 3 bids now, and they are following through with those 3 bids. Before, they just set it and followed through. Also, just so you know, we've submitted 2 more grants, one with Entergy and one with our insurance company, so we'll wait to see what happens. Entergy was a very difficult grant to penetrate because we're not a 501c3, and they have this layer of bureaucracy for the grant process, and we finally were able to go around that. Certifications, promotions, Michael England now is Fire Officer 3, and subsequently was promoted from sergeant to a lieutenant. Scott Seymour promoted to a probationary sergeant position. And that concludes my chief comments.
Okay, moving on to item 10, unfinished business, healthcare policy.
That's Peter.
This is a this is a policy that we talked last month about. You know, we had Greg, and we have another full-time member that, and opting out of taking the health insurance, we're basically paying them a monthly stipend, and it was brought up, you know, so basically this is the policy right here that they'll be paid, reimbursed 30% of whatever the state in Michigan says the hard cap is. The hard cap is basically the state medical office says this is what the average cost for single people, double people, or family costs, and we're going to pay 30% of that, which is in its taxable income, to Greg and the other gentlemen that basically are opting out of the health insurance.
Do we have to vote on this?
I don't know, basically just a policy put like in the employment.
I think you make a motion to approve the policy.
Policy,
You know,
as of today, yeah.
I had some discussion on it.
Okay.
My suggestion is that we supply some information on this, because no one's gonna know what this means, 30% cap, what does it mean? You know, we're firefighters, discount me, take me out of it, okay? We need to pay their insurance.
Well,
This
these-
isn't,
But
you know.
these guys are people that are opting out
Right,
of insurance.
I know, but when you cap it at 30%, I'm just worried that, you know, all of a sudden then we have some firefighters that are trying to save money, and all of a sudden their premiums aren't being covered. What if their rates go up 12-14% every year? I'm just making sure that they are taken care of, whether they opt in or opt out, they're taken care of. I want to make sure, I realize the board doesn't have to pay all health care costs, but we're not out polishing cars.
But
We've
I
got
guess-
cancer, we've got all these elements that are going to shorten our life if we don't do things right.
Well, you
And
can
this-
only opt out if you have proof of insurance.
Right, we gotta have proof of insurance somewhere else.
Yeah, right, I understand that, but I just want to make sure, the reason, say, John Smith went with his spouse's insurance was because it was $500 a month cheaper.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
that's on them, you know,
Right.
if they have a spouse or somewhere
Right.
else and they think they're making money, I mean, we're just giving this, or we can't do nothing, so we're giving them something, and, I mean, we're saving the department some money in the long run.
But say we only give them $700 a month, and it costs them $850 a month. And the full-time guys aren't paying anything for their health insurance.
Right. They're not
So
paying-
where's the equity in that?
Well, the equity is, they're walking with money in their pocket, where the guys basically have the card in their wallet that they can use if they get to that crisis, you know.
But that person who gets the $700 a month is taxed.
Yeah. You know, and we have no, that's the IRS, that we have no control over that, so.
And I
And
think
Doesn't
we're
seem-
saving the department for
Right.
doubling insurance, you know, at the end of the day, we're saving, you know, there's more money in the budget for something else that we could do. But I mean, yeah, I guess, I understand, but the call is on them, if they have a spouse where you could have insurance elsewhere, and it depends.
Right.
Everybody's case is unique to them, you know,
Yeah.
so you know, it's hard to say, we just
That's
have.
why,
We can't just start, you know, to me, you got this policy, this is what we will pay, you know, we're gonna, whatever, it's $700 a month if you're fortunate enough to have a spouse that has one maybe better insurance. You know, we've gone through that, you know, with the city, you know, this is what our policy currently covers, and if you have a spouse that just, maybe their policy's better and you don't have to pay for it, you know. A lot of places out there, you know, if you're paying 20-30% of what a policy is, and now with the Affordable Care Act, before health insurance was rated as a single, double, or family, now it's, if you were married and you got 5 children, you know, you're charged based by bodies, you're not in a group anymore. So at the end of the day, this is basically back to whoever the employee is, and they have to prove to us, one, that they have insurance somewhere else. I want to see a card, or that they have that insurance, you know, so they're getting a stipend opting out of the health insurance. And we're not forcing this upon anybody, it's their decision.
If they opt out, why would they, if they're covered by their spouse or whatever? Why should they get money? They already have coverage.
Well, basically,
Well, then we have to give them a stipend.
Or stipend, because it's basically today, because I think it's the cost, and it's, well, or put me on the policy, and instead of paying them $700, that could cost us, you know, $2,000 a month.
A lot of companies do this. Herman Miller does this. I could get insurance through Herman Miller. My spouse is employed at Grand Valley. I went on his insurance because it costs less and better coverage, and Herman Miller pays me, I think it's only $30 a paycheck, so it's not very much.
Yeah.
But
that's
it's
very
a small
typical.
stipend. Yeah.
You know, they do the Cal Havernick, the chief, they paid his insurance because he had it through his wife and family affair. It was better insurance. It's very common. All I want to make sure is, in utmost respect, take care of the people that are risking their lives. This isn't, we're not out there washing windows and stuff.
I think this just gives them another option. If they have a better, if they get better insurance through their spouse, do that and get a stipend through the...
I just know of one, and that was, you know, besides me, and that was because he had better insurance, and it was a lot less. And Peter and I go, oh boy, I hope he doesn't. He doesn't have to. He could be on our insurance, and we'd be paying $1,500 a month instead of $700 a month.
So then there's more money in the budget to be placed somewhere else.
Right, which is why I did it.
And it's a good deal for him, so I don't see where we wouldn't make sure our firefighters are taken care of.
Yeah, they should take care of.
I didn't mean to I just wanted to reiterate that.
My only question on this is, it's worded as accepting a payment. Should we clarify it's a monthly payment, is it an annual payment?
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be monthly, there's say monthly in there.
We had, you know, we had city in this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
We had to change it.
Yeah, I told him, because I didn't have the word, yeah, it's a monthly payment.
I see, it's the very last sentence.
Oh, yeah,
It is
okay,
true.
equal monthly increments, yeah.
But they're they gotta pay taxes on that.
Yeah, they gotta claim it, basically just, there's no way around
You're
that.
taxed on everything. I mean, I get like $510 a month.
It's more than I get.
I'm going to Butler, you're a
Lucky
millionaire.
I don't get a paycheck out of it anymore.
Here we go.
At least you behind that part.
Can we move on the agenda?
All right, so can I have a motion to accept this policy?
I'll make a motion to accept the policy for the payment in lieu of health coverage.
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion. All right, moving on.
Grants?
Okay, the grant total.
Go back and forth.
Eric, can you put that up on the screen, please?
See you, Peter.
Bye, Peter.
Got to print out and deliver as they do to me every month.
So, several of us worked on this. We talked about this, and I believe Eric and we all combined to upgrade this and keep it up to date, and we included donations and things, and this just gives you a profile of the history since 2014 of the grants, and it provides a nice baseline of, you know, $38,000 in donations for the Live Fire Training Center. The grants written out of this team, out of this office, with the firefighter training council, live fire training center donations, it provides you a nice line-by-line item of where the money came from. So, and that shows you the totals for the year. 2019 was a big one, mainly because of the $123,000 for the radios, so. Any questions on that?
I think this is the type of information that needs to be put out to the public.
At minimum, reported to the various councils.
Now, there may be people, there may be people like the Padnos family, usually they don't care, but, you know, they gave money, they didn't hide it. So what does it matter? I think you need to let people know.
And we have their names on the sign out there too, and Padnos was here on all that, so.
Is that why it's painted Padnos green?
What would you do if the paint was free?
I know.
Doesn't have a logo
Be
on it.
purple, or any color pink, I don't care.
They call it Padnos green at Repcolite.
It is?
Yeah.
It's green.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
So, anyway, any questions on that? We thought we'd provide this to the board. We can certainly send this to them. Eric put it in a nice format all together because we had it in a couple different sections, and we didn't keep track of the training council stuff, but I mean, you can see it's pretty significant. It adds up.
Sure does.
And it
A lot
helps.
of money.
Oh, it helps the taxpayers with, you know, with that. I don't believe in funding a budget with grants. This provides you, you know, you look at that 2017 one, for $145,000, that was for SCBA's. Remember I came to you and said, hey, I need $230,000? So, okay, yeah.
Moving on
Yeah.
to
Oh,
memo, station improvements, demand for search.
The staff and I felt, we need to figure out what we're gonna do and not have people sleeping lazy boys and trying to figure out what we can do with the limited funds that we want to impose on taxpayers. And we looked at some options, and actually my wife helped me come up over the weekend, and we thought of building to the north, just adding on 2 floors to the north to the sidewalk. Some of the drawings are right up there. We own the lot to the south, as the fire board knows. What are the goals? What are the objectives of the project? Well, we need sleeping rooms and we need some more offices. There's a lot of activity that goes on here, a lot of walk-ins. So, offices are at a premium. You can see we've lost probably 3 training room tables because of moving the offices up here. So, we're looking at a 10 to 15-year project, and we're looking at different options. All we wanted as a courtesy to our board, let you know what we're looking into. So, that drawing up there is just a one concept. Where on the first floor, there would be offices. And the second floor with SR would be sleeping rooms. We could take this kitchen out, enlarge this kitchen right here, just by extending through the wall. There would be doors in there. This is just one concept that we thought would be cost effective. And then the other aspect is going south. The problem we have there is RJ's property goes up to our property line. You can't drive through. So even if we got an easement that would, which he was not interested in doing, if we bought that, or if we built on there, we could only use the front half. So we have to work through some things. I met with RJ Friday about that particular lot over there to see what can be done. He doesn't care if we use it. It's just if RJ's gone and the next owner puts up a fence there, it won't work. So we want to let you know what we were trying to do and how we see that we're going to have to do something to expand, particularly with our role more as public safety officials.
If it's 10 to 15 years, is it just incremental each year, or would you want to like get a bond and just do this? Or what's the thought?
Well, what we thought we'd do is, it's going to be on the officer's agenda is we figure out what are our goals and objectives with this project? What do we need? What do we have to have? And putting 6 people in that room and then one sleeping on a cot here and a lazy boy isn't working. So what we need to do is have sleeping rooms. Where I get into trouble is converting this to a change of use. I have to sprinkle this. Plus, then where do I train? So that's where it prompts me is go outside of this building and add on to it. I figure that's a good investment. Or go to the south. I like that aspect too. And then we do more of a, embrace rooms and embrace the advantage of starting from scratch on an addition where you can have, people have a separate 8x10 cubicle for a sleeping room. So we look at a 10 to 15-year plan, or we look at a 30-year plan, which is pretty hard to do. And we figure out what we need per the officers, and then we show the conceptual drawings, which we would do in-house, to the board. Then we decide, well, what do we want to do? I figured $250 a square foot might be a fair assessment. And then we figure out, well, how do we want to pay for that?
I know
Village increase or bond?
I know this is in its infancy, but I think there's a lot of things you gotta take in consideration. This area is still growing a little bit, but, most of our calls are medical. I mean, I've heard over the years, why don't we have paramedics in this town? They got the YMR and Fenville. I mean, those are things to consider when you're talking about expanding, community, public safety buildings, I know we got the Allegan County, coming here and eating and things like that, but, do we need a community or a public safety building, and would that incorporate the police in the area? How long are the state police gonna be down the road? I don't know, there's a lot of questions. I saw this and I'm like, it's fine to start thinking down the road, you have to, but I hope we, look at all the different scenarios
Great.
going on.
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to go to the south, the advantage of that is, we believe 3, maybe 5 years, we'll be transporting, not paramedic, but we'll be basic life support and transporting. We'll need 2 ambulances to do that. Where are we gonna put them? If we build to the south, move the entrance further on south to RJ's property, because we have to, it's in the deed, and we add on to the building, then there would be a couple of bays, probably 4 bays added, and then we would have the top floor designated for sleeping rooms. And then just sprinkle that building down there and leave us alone. So that's a real possibility, doing that. What I'm worried about is setbacks and all that. I don't know how they did this, because it's 120-foot right-of-way, and they're not gonna have 4 lanes here, the county told us, and I don't know how, because our sign was right in the right-of-way. So the building seemed like it was too close to the right-of-way, the front setback wasn't, but it was allowed. So that's what we have to look into. And this property next door here, again, only allows us to go to the lot line. How do we get in when we don't own the property? So that's a broader need. AMR doesn't feel, they don't think we're gonna be transporting in 3 to 5 years. The area chiefs don't feel that way at all. I mean, some of these departments are waiting 45 minutes for an ambulance because the volume's doing this. Well, if I have 1 ambulance, I need 2. And we would only transport to Holland. So these are things we're trying to do at an EMT level, which are, a lot of them do it. As soon as we start going paramedic, firefighter, we're gonna need a lot of paramedics. It changes a lot of things. And I do ALS, you're probably talking $450,000 for a truck. I don't know, 'cause
That's why I think, when you get to it, whether you guys come up with the plans, or you hire somebody as a consultant to figure out these plans, or an architect, or whatever, that when you start talking about extra fire equipment, extra services, transporting, whatnot, roll it all up into a number and put it, let the community come up with, do it as a bond, do it as a village, I don't know what, I don't know, it's not my area, but
Yeah.
I think it needs to be dealt with as a big thing, rather than trying to incrementalize your way through it.
I think, there's a new buzzword that's coming up through the ranks, and it's called taxpayer capacity. How much money does this area have? And believe me, I understand public safety inside out, upside down. I've watched this for 7 years. I get it. But I think there's a point when the community leaders need to get together and talk about this. I mean, we're paying, what was it, $6 million for a library? They want $40 to $50 million for a school. Now this fire department's gonna need how much money? Is it 10, 12, $15 million? Saugatuck City Hall is the old fire department. It was built in 1879. If you notice, there aren't any flower boxes on City Hall anymore. That's because they fell off. Our City Hall is falling apart. It was the old fire station. Talk about an old building. We're going to need a new building. I think community leaders need to get together and talk about all these expenses and look at the big, big picture of this community, because we're taxed to death. I mean, how many more cups of coffee do you have to give to the city? I'm not so sure we have a lot of cups of coffee left in the pot. So I think we need to look at this as a community, and our leaders, we need to demand, I'm talking as a taxpayer, we need to demand that our leaders get together and talk about these finances. It just goes on and on and on. We want this, we want that. Just give us this. We'll worry about the finances later. Don't worry about it. Somebody needs to start worrying. And somebody needs to
I
look
agree
at
with you,
this.
but why do we have 3 municipality buildings, 3 councils?
I'm with
It's
you.
asinine.
I'm with you.
For how many, what,
How many
5,000 people, maybe 6,000 in the
I
area?
agree.
If I had my way, Douglas Police, Alton County Sheriff, we would all be here.
Right,
Absolutely.
and even the state police if they need room, I
I
don't
mean,
think they're
that's-
paying anything.
Right,
We
no.
have,
But they
Well,
should be
but
in
the
one
township
move.
the township could have a revenue stream
Right.
from running that out. And that's why, we used to have the state police in this building. I know, I understand all that. I think we all agree, you've got to look at this differently. You're talking about, in my feeble mind, the king of collaboration. I'm not the one you have to convince. I've always boasted working together. It doesn't always work out. I always want to send a Christmas card to that partner.
As much, in a perfect world, that'd work. Sadly, the world's not perfect.
No.
People, particularly government entities,
They don't
are
worry
gonna
about their,
work, stay in their lane, work their deal, get as much as they can, and,
well,
hope that you get it down the road. That's why, honestly, that's why I think, whether it's as a bond issue or whatever, then at least you're going to the people and saying, are you willing to support?
but
Public
should this
safety.
be, should
I
this,
agree with you, it should.
should this be
complete-
a building that houses police and fire and maybe offices for other things that go on? Maybe this needs to
Community
be
hall.
one expansion instead of, okay, you fight for your money, you fight for your money, you fight for your money, and the taxpayer's the guy that's gonna suffer for this. We're gonna come to an end of how much we can afford to pay in taxes. It's gonna happen.
Wasn't that what the people decide every time there's a vote? I'm done, I'm not doing it anymore, that's what it's about. You vote it or you don't vote these
Well,
things,
that's
period.
what happens.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's things that we need,
Yeah.
and there's things that we
Want.
want.
So how do we do this?
That's a matter of personal opinion.
We need
Some
to
people would say
collaborate.
the library was needed, so these are just, this is a go-nowhere discussion, because politics is like that. It's
Right.
like, there's always gonna be two camps on these different things, and that's why there's a vote that goes to the public. I agree in principle, wouldn't it be great if we could get us all to prioritize?
How many no offense, but we paid 2 city managers and a township supervisor. What are those salaries combined? I mean, come on, we got, let's say 8,000 people here, annual residents.
But that went to the voters 3 years
It
ago.
failed. I mean, we're talking to nobody here. Unless that came up again sometime, but. it
Well,
just
and-
You
failed.
never get the three to agree to anything like that.
Exactly, and I don't wanna pay Douglas and Saugatuck taxes. I wanna
There
pay
you go.
Saugatuck Township taxes.
We just wanted to share with you what we're, you know,
But if we had one collaborative effort, and we all paid our fair share of taxes for the services we all get, I'm fine with it.
I still think our community leaders need to step up to the plate, lead, and collaborate on these things. I think they're starting, I think Griffin and Kirk and Rich are starting to meet.
well, Griffin's for station enlargement, aren't you, Griffin?
I think we should
Nobody
just keep
said they
Griffin.
weren't. Nobody said they weren't. I never said I wasn't. I
No,
said
I
we
know.
need to collaborate on these things
No,
and
it's
do it the
just-
most
it's better for us,
economically
so.
we can. We're gonna run out of money. We're gonna implode on ourselves.
And like I said, we need to do it right the first time, instead of
Exactly.
piecemealing something together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
putting a little addition on there, and an addition on there, and an addition on there, and it's not what we need, it's just because we had to.
I'm a first-class person. You do it right the first time and you don't have to do it again. So, that's my piece.
Well, I appreciate you guys, looking into it.
It needs to be
And
looked
look, I mean, you've always been good at long-range planning, and I think this is part of that. Do we have the money? Who knows?
Speaking from the Douglas perspective, I do know we need a new police building as well, so I think that is at least a conversation that should be had. Is there a better way to look at that holistically?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
do we
hate to
have a
see that-
public service building instead of
Yeah.
being all over the
because
place?
that building with a flat roof, it's real costly and all that, and it's just, it's tough, to have that type of facility and maintain it, so I understand.
None of those cars sit out all year round in Douglas, and that's wear and tear.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
We have some correspondence?
Yeah, if I can read these, a couple from Mary Whiteford, another one came in just today. The first one, I would like to personally thank you. This is a letter from Mary Whiteford for a fire where we rescued numerous animals, dear Saugatuck Township Fire District. I would like to personally thank you for your diligent service. That's trapped by the recent house fire in our district. Your fast response and care for all those affected by the fire was heartwarming. It's faithful citizens like you that help make the 80th district such a great place to live. So I got that one. I think I shared with you last time, she wrote a letter to every firefighter and EMS responder. That's in your packet as well. In your packet is a sample letter she sent to Chris Mantles, thanking you, all the firefighters for their passion and determination. With Chris's, she actually added on there, great job testifying in the Senate Health Policy Committee. Chris had to testify, so she pointed that out. Another one from Mary Whiteford is, this is the Live Fire Training Center, dear Saugatuck Township Fire District, dated October 3rd, 2019. I would like to personally congratulate you on the successful demonstration of your collaborative fire training facility. And it goes on to say, efforts of yours help make the district safe and a wonderful place to live. The collaborative effort is a fantastic resource for the community. Please accept my sincere gratitude. Next up is a thank you letter from East Saugatuck Church we briefly talked about. their 150th anniversary. Kyle and Aaron went over there to shoot photos, and this is a thank you letter from Pastor Keith Menace. And last one is, no, there's two more, there are two more. I got a letter from Emmett McGar on 2583 Lakeshore Drive. I shared this with Township Manager Griffin, Supervisor, sorry. Dear Chief Janik, my wife and I are in our 60s and recently bought a new home at the address shown above. We absolutely love our neck of the woods, with the exception of our concern about how emergency vehicles would reach us in the event of a fire or other emergency. In addition to the added delay of traveling south to M89 and then back north a mile to our home, we have another concern. Over Labor Day weekend, a tree fell across Lakeshore Drive and vehicles were stopped both north and south. While the county worked quickly to remove the tree limb, the road was blocked for at least 10 minutes. Neighbors mentioned the possibility of a fire lane. I explored the one north of us, providing access from Falkers subdivision to Lakeshore Drive. Is there a possibility of the township creating something similar for the folks south of the washout? I appreciate how much concern there has been about the bike path on Blue Star, and it seems a very real risk. We will also be at the top of the township list. My wife and I would feel so much better about the home we just bought with an eye towards retirement if we felt that our safety was not jeopardized by undue delay in reaching us. Signed, Emmett McGar. Last one, I received a letter in the mail from Ms. Dawn Shuham, 206 Lakeshore Drive. Dear Chief Janik, earlier this month, we had a telephone conversation with regards to the problems of the water on Padnos property, that would be drinking water. Thank you for discussing the problems of fighting fires in that area. This has led me to wonder about more water-related issues. For example, where does the water come from for basic residential needs in that North Shore area? If the Padnos group did not win approval of the marina, and they follow up with a large pond and potentially 100 houses, can the aquifer sustain that amount of additional usage? Will that reduce the water available to the rest of the area? Does that represent a threat? Do you have any guidelines on these issues? If so, please send a copy. Obviously, aquifer is beyond the scope of my ability to respond. Just wanted to share with you. I'll send some response to it, to Mrs. Shuham.
Cal Lake. Pop it over to Cal Lake and...
I'm going to put in the letter that she should contact Cal Lake. So, I'm sorry.
One thing about the washout, we do have a meeting scheduled in November to go check that out by the Lake Shore, the access road for the Lake Shore Drive. I think the 7th or something, isn't it? Or have we?
And Chief Janik and Captain Betts will be attending as
Okay.
well.
Hey, Griffin and I and Captain Bess have met on that, and we've got some things in the works. So.
Okay.
Is that little trail behind Tolsma's house there on the first washout?
Naturally,
We talked about this 10 or 15 years
right.
ago.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Regardless of it, it was
I thought we had
during John Wallace days, of one of the earlier city managers in Dulles. It goes way back. And Falkers was kind of a 7-year battle. That road went back and forth on being used and not being used. So, I think in the case of township, they're in a tough position because, people have to give up their property to create access, and not everyone wants that intrusion on their property because there's no money to buy it.
Well, I'm going to be really crude here, but lots of people that buy out there and know that's the problem when they buy. That was a new house that got built.
We
Get sprinklers put in if they're that concerned.
We got attacked on that.
Yeah, but it's not just fires, it's emergencies or anything.
We pointed out that there was no water supply and it was a dead end, and that was one of the components of changing the fire code. We thought we...
People bought it knowing that.
Yeah. We wanted all of them to be sprinkled out there.
I read somewhere there's an issue with the road again, starting to wash.
We got notified by EOC, the Emergency Office Center, that there was as much as 25 feet of beach erosion. They sent photos, there's houses, they're gonna go down. If you live on the lake shore, there are some things to expect,
And washout's one of them.
and washout is one of them. You know, in these people's defense, some of them lived there when it occurred, and the county's not gonna do anything. So if we can convince some property owners to, on a limited basis, and that's one of the things we teamwork together and say, 12-foot road, no asphalt, no concrete, a low-impact road, that's all we need. Give us a chance to get to you. And Griffin was very supportive, and so were the residents there. So, we're working on it.
Okay, moving on, public comment, is there any public comment? Griffin?
No, thank you.
Fire board comments? Aaron?
Nope.
Captain? Scott?
No.
Stacy? Nope. Eric? Dan?
One question on the dedication of 2112. What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I have the decals ready to go. I just need an hour and everything.
Can I do that at a fire board meeting?
That'd be cool. Get the press here. Be very cool.
What are we dedicating it?
That's Avery Betts. Do you have that, Eric? So,
Yeah, I have it, so
what it was is, we had a great idea, it came to me, it was an idea, you know, to, typically, you have a special person, you put their name on the truck. For example, 2111 was kind of dedicated to Chief Block with the bell on the front bumper. The board elected to pay for that bell when we had that truck built. And Dan, a couple others came up with this, so there would be a sticker that Eric has already designed, and I got permission from the Betts family to have that sticker designed, and Eric did it. So we were gonna do that at a training meeting, and there was something that occurred, and we postponed it. So if the board would let us do that at a training session, I think that would be extraordinary. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll put it on the agenda for...
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Make motion.
Motion's been made and
I'll
seconded.
second.
We're adjourned.
Where's Jerry?